You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for joining us this Friday. I'm Ann Makovic. Here is a look at some of our news headlines this morning. Fire destroying a former youth center in East San Jose today. Flames poured out of the abandoned building on Sinclair Drive for hours this morning. This is the abandoned Mexican-American Community Services Agency Youth Center. Here is a look at that fire shortly after it broke out at about 1 a.m. right next to the Alum Rock Renaissance Academy. Firefighters managed to prevent those flames from spreading to the school or other buildings, but officials from the Alum Rock Union School District canceled classes today just to be safe. That fire also near Mayfair Park, several homes and 680. It escalated to 3 alarms this morning. That means a lot of resources rushing to contain it.
We had approximately 50 firefighters on the scene. As you can see, it's still an active scene. The firefighters worked aggressively, they worked fast, they got here quickly in order to stop the fire from spreading.
No injuries reported. The cause of that fire still unknown. Investigators in Minneapolis have identified the 2 children who were shot and killed at church this week. 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moisky. They both died during Mass on Wednesday after that shooter fired 116 rifle rounds into Annunciation Catholic School. 18 other people were injured. Fletcher's father urged parents to give their kids an extra hug and kiss.
A coward decided to take our 8-year-old son Fletcher away from us. Please remember Fletcher for the person he was and not the act that ended his life.
Harper's parents wrote that they're shattered and called on elected leaders to do more to address gun violence and mental health. The mayor of Minneapolis calling for stronger gun safety laws. Police say the shooter, 23-year-old Robin Westman, had been a member of the Catholic Church where that shooting happened. They also say that they may have visited the church in the weeks leading up to the attack to conduct surveillance. Authorities still trying to establish a motive there. President Trump has canceled Secret Service protection for former Vice President Kamala Harris. Under federal law, a former vice president received 6 months of protection after leaving office, but Harris's protection was extended to a year by former President Biden. That is going to end September 1st under President Trump's order. Sources tell CBS News the Secret Service found no reason to extend her detail past the usual 6 months. San Mateo County Sheriff Christina Corpus back on the witness stand today. It is expected to be the final day of testimony in her removal hearing going on in Redwood City. The embattled sheriff is fighting for her job amid allegations of misconduct, corruption, and abuse of power. Her defense team says she's under attack because of people resisting to her efforts at reform. Once the 10-day hearing wraps up, a retired judge will have 45 days to make his recommendation to the County Board of Supervisors, and then they will decide if she ultimately keeps or loses her job. Heads up, if you are traveling this holiday weekend, a lot of people are. The FAA is forecasting the busiest Labor Day in 15 years. The TSA expecting almost 17.5 million travelers at its checkpoints through Wednesday. This is how things looked at Oakland International yesterday. That airport is expecting more than 160,000 passengers over the holiday weekend, so it certainly looks different today. A passenger told us the lines were longer than she expected.
So I guess what you want to do is to try to relax, to be calm, because once you're here, you can't speed things up. So you have to accept that this is what it is and try to be calm so you start your vacation off on a high, on a plus.
Good advice. For drivers this holiday weekend, AAA says the worst time to hit the road is between noon and 8 p.m. and then on Monday between 1 and 4 p.m. when people are returning home. All right, a lot of people wondering how the Labor Day weekend is going to shape up in the weather department. Getting a check on our first alert forecast. Meteorologist Jessica Birch has a look at some of the conditions heading into the weekends.
We have a big warm-up in the forecast as we head into the next couple days, and we're already starting to notice it off into our inland spots today with this baby warm-up jumping us into the 80s and 90s from Concord all the way over into Antioch as we kick off this weekend's forecast. It's a little bit cooler, of course, along the coast, sitting in the 60s today in Pacifica and Half Moon Bay, upper 60s into San Francisco this afternoon, but we're continuing to warm up all throughout these microclimates as we head into this weekend's forecast. And there's a reason for it. As we head into this weekend, high pressure starts rolling its way in from our inland spots. What that does is it drops relative humidity a little bit. It also warms our temperatures up. And so those inland areas are going to see a lot more upper 80s and lower 90s, and even some upper 90s in the forecast off into the East Bay as early as tomorrow. At the same time, we're gearing up for some gustier afternoons. We see that alone today. I mean, we kicked off this morning with nice light winds, a little bit gustier just around lunchtime. Into the evening hours tonight, it really ramps up to around 25-mile-per-hour winds. And the reason why I want to bring up the winds mixed with the low relative humidity and warm temperatures is because those three key ingredients alone are fire weather conditions. And so we monitor that closely as we head into the afternoon hours tomorrow, all the way into Sunday, as temperatures soar up into the upper 90s throughout our inland areas. And then we slowly start to see a little bit of a cool down as we head into early next week, as we head into Monday and Tuesday. Sending back the kids to school on Monday, well, of course, you're still going to want to have that water bottle ready to go and some lighter attire for our inland areas. But if you live along the bay, temperatures are a little bit more moderate. We're talking about low 70s as we head into Monday's forecast, getting a baby warm up as we head into mid-next week. The only difference, we have more cloudy skies in the forecast right around the corner. Back to you.
Thanks, Jess. A lot of Californians are about to see more CHP officers patrolling their cities, and Governor Newsom says this is all because of how well it worked here in the Bay Area. Over the past 2 years, the governor sent CHP officers to help local law enforcement in places like San Francisco and Oakland. He credits those surge operations with thousands of arrests and drug busts. So now the governor says he is expanding those CHP surge operations to other parts of the state, including San Diego, LA, and the Central Valley. And, well, not all Oaklanders have welcomed the extra officers. Police officials tell our Lauren Toms they do need all the help they can get.
California Highway Patrol's presence in Oakland is expected to fill an increased need for traffic enforcement in the coming weeks as Oakland Police prepares to slash its traffic safety division amid chronic understaffing levels. Oakland Police Union President Wee Win tells me CHP's role in Oakland has primarily been traffic enforcement, giving more resources back to the department for patrol and investigations.
We're losing our traffic division. A motor officer that out there doing traffic enforcement, they are gone.
Currently, OPD has just over 500 officers, with about 6 leaving each month. At that pace, staffing could drop to 400 next year. And because 320 are required for patrols, few resources remain for specialized units like traffic enforcement.
It's tough when you show up to work and you are walking into a ball game that you're facing a loss because there are 200 calls standing and you're showing up to citizens who are calling at the worst moment of their life, and you don't show up for hours later.
In his announcement, Newsom touted CHP's impact so far. Last year, CHP says its officers made more than 9,000 arrests and recovered nearly 5,800 stolen vehicles between Bakersfield, Oakland, and San Bernardino.
The community wants to see more, and we are trying to be responsive to the people we serve.
But CHP's elongated presence isn't welcomed by all. Felipe Kelly of the Ella Baker Center in Oakland says he's been pulled over by CHP officers twice within Oakland city limits in just the last 2 months. No citations, he says, were ever given.
The more police that are circulating in Oakland, the more chances of people of color, poor white people being harmed by police officers.
He also points to the death of Dr. Marvin Boomer earlier this year, a beloved Oakland teacher who was killed after a CHP pursuit ended when the suspect crashed into a residential neighborhood. Unlike Oakland police, CHP has the authority to chase vehicle suspects. CHP says the chase ended seconds before the crash. Darren White of the Oakland NAACP says that CHP must operate with more caution in Oakland, but that their support for public safety is essential.
Having extra boots on the ground that have been culturally receptive of the community that they're serving has been an added boost to reducing the crime that's in Oakland.
Newsom's announcement comes as President Trump threatens to deploy the National Guard to boost public safety in California cities. The governor says the state doesn't need military intervention, insisting California can handle the challenge on its own.
That this country needs to wake up to what's going on, and not just the authoritarian tendencies, but the authoritarian actions by this president. This cannot be normalized.
Well, this week, President Trump floated the idea of sending the National Guard to Chicago to fight crime. The Department of Homeland Security asked a military base outside the city to provide support on immigration operations this week. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. It has been months since California voters approved a major change to the criminal justice system. You might remember Prop 36. So we're taking a look at if it's actually working to combat retail thefts.
Stole a car from Richmond and ended up running it through the back door here. Hopefully this will allow them to be able to say, okay, we're going to actually investigate this, we're going to prosecute them.
Plus, nearly $200 million of federal funding pulled for California's high-speed rail project. How this new roadblock could actually fast-track a path toward the South Bay.
Well, we're starting to warm up as we head into this weekend's forecast. Today, we're still in the low 90s, putting us a little bit above average in certain microclimates off into the East Bay. We jump to the upper 90s by tomorrow, and then we hold on tight to upper 90s for one more day into Sunday's forecast before things calm down a little bit more as we kick off next work week and school week. Now, at the same time, we're also noticing that weekend warm up in the Bay, too. Low 70s jumping into upper 70s as early as tomorrow with sunny skies. It'll be a beautiful weekend in the Bay, and then we'll start seeing those clouds roll back in as we head into next week.
It has been more than 9 months since some major changes to California's criminal justice system took effect. Those changes in response to some high-profile retail thefts across the state. The voter-approved Prop 36 was intended to create a new choice for some drug offenders: enter treatment or face a longer prison sentence. In San Mateo County, prosecutors have filed nearly 500 felony theft cases and almost 230 felony drug possession charges since Prop 36 took effect in mid-December. Suji Nam spoke with the DA's office about how they're using the increased flexibility under the new law.
Safety is the utmost priority for Matt Todd.
We had to install these big bollards here. You can see they're like 6 inches across. They go way down in there. So
As manager of Mike's Camera in Menlo Park, he says their store is burglarized at least once every year.
Stole a car from Richmond and ended up running it through the back door here.
Todd adds that most recently, thieves stole several cameras and lenses while destroying not only this store, but also their shop in Pleasant Hill, which is why he supports Prop 36, a law that enables prosecutors to file felony theft and drug charges for repeat offenders.
Hopefully this will allow them to be able to say, okay, we're going to actually investigate this, we're going to prosecute them, and the DA's not just going to, set it aside.
San Mateo County is leading the way with Prop 36. Shinmi Chang, the chief deputy of the San Mateo County District Attorney's Office, explains how prosecutors can group multiple theft or drug cases in a single charge and seek a tougher sentence. Prop 36 allows them to focus on defendants with at least 2 prior convictions. San Mateo County's policy has a higher threshold.
Even though we can file with just 2 priors, for a felony filing on theft cases, we require 3 or more prior convictions. And on the drug side, we impose for our office a 10-year washout period, meaning if the conviction is more than 10 years old, it doesn't count towards one of your priors.
Chang says it's still too early to see its impact on crime, but there is progress. 20 people are now being referred for treatment.
Those are 20 people who may not have sought drug treatment under the old laws of Prop 47. So we need to see how those treatment options play out for these defendants.
On the other side of this debate, Lanesha Edwards of Californians for Safety and Justice believes everyone should be held accountable for their actions, but says Prop 36 is not the solution. Opponents point out there was no money provided for treatment programs.
Spend less on prisons by reducing the flow of people in and out of the system in the first place and reallocating the resulting savings back into community-based crime and harm prevention programs.
Meanwhile, Todd says he and his team have a plan.
We're going to be upgrading our security system again soon.
He will continue to take matters into his own hands to make sure he and his community are safe.
Prosecutors in Santa Clara County have filed the second most felony theft charges under Prop 36 in the Bay Area, and as according to the Mercury News. In Marin County, Canal Street in San Rafael, back open now following last week's deadly apartment complex fire. They reopened the street early yesterday evening. The residential street runs along the San Rafael Creek, and this comes as the 2 people who died in the fire were identified. Those victims are 68-year-old Pamela Scoggins and 62-year-old Tracy Lowmillet. More than 50 people were forced out of their homes by that fire. The city is helping them with temporary housing. The sheriff's office says they are no longer looking for anyone missing and that everyone is now accounted for. And police have called that fire suspicious. Now to an update on the Pickett fire burning in Napa County. CAL FIRE says it has now destroyed 5 structures. That fire burned about 10 square miles, and fire crews expect it to stay within its containment lines now. Broke out a little more than a week ago near 100 Acre Wines in Calistoga. A spokesperson for the winery says the company is cooperating with authorities as they search for the cause of that fire. Now to a plan that has frustrated Californians for decades. Some new challenges with the high-speed rail project, putting the focus on fast-tracking the bullet train to reach more populated areas sooner. All the work that has actually been completed so far is between the Central Valley cities of Bakersfield and Madera. A lot of people calling that the train to nowhere. The plan has been to take the tracks further north through Merced before eventually branching out toward the Silicon Valley. But with federal funding getting pulled, plus a number of other cost delays and overruns, there is a new talk now of an alternative plan that could fast-track a station in Gilroy. Arlen Ramirez asked locals how they feel about their city taking center stage.
Well, Gilroy is increasingly seen as a critical link to the success of the high-speed rail system in California. And so moving forward, it will be necessary from both a logistical and political standpoint to get this community on board. This Caltrain commuter train pulls into downtown Gilroy like it does every day. But in the not-so-distant future, these same tracks might carry something much faster, California's high-speed rail. For local barber Christian Mondragon, that future is pulling in fast, just like the trains that pass right behind his shop every day.
Right here. Oh, pretty close. Oh, so we hear the train every day.
Christian is a third-generation barber in town, and the family's business roots stretch back 70 years. He wants to stay in business for the long term and sees opportunity and challenges ahead, being on the tracks and a block from the proposed new station.
I'm excited for it, keeping the positivity up, and taking the precaution to keep my customers satisfied and everybody to arrive over here without, obstacles and stuff like that.
Gilroy is poised to become the critical link in high-speed rail, a junction connecting the Bay Area to the Central Valley and Southern California. The plan is for high-speed rail to tunnel under the Pacheco Pass and meet Caltrain here, allowing seamless transfers into Silicon Valley.
Gilroy is a linchpin right now. When we get to that point, I think we'll know we have arrived at a very significant place.
But State Senator Dave Cortese says getting it right is proving difficult. High-speed rail is grappling with delays, rising costs, and even a loss of federal funding under the Trump administration. $33 billion was the original price tag with a 2020 completion goal. But it now could cost $128 billion with full build-out pushed into the 2030s. With uncertain funding, state and rail officials say private investment is vital to keep the project moving.
The right kind of development in those areas can generate not only jobs and prosperity, but actually throw off what we call exaction money or contributions to the high-speed rail itself. So all of that is coming together at a good time, but we have a lot of work to do to pull it off.
With so many challenges now facing California, some question whether it's still worth it.
I think people just want to know where the money is going. Where is it gone?
Others are counting on the economic impact to the area, including 15,000 construction jobs statewide.
Not everyone can work behind a desk and in high tech. We still need blue collar workers, and it's not, it's a good job.
For decades, Gilroy's identity has been rooted in garlic, a point of pride for the community. But it may one day get a second claim to fame, a hub for high-speed rail.
I'm looking forward to the bullet train, though. I'm looking forward to the train. Should be good.
It's a small town that can play a huge role in bridging regions of California, but spanning the funding gaps remain an unsolved challenge, pushing the start of this critical link further down the line.
And again, it might feel like nothing has happened with the high-speed rail project, but so far crews have completed nearly 70 miles of guideway, along with nearly 60 structures along that 171-mile stretch between Bakersfield and Merced. Still ahead, 3 of the world's biggest sporting events coming to the South Bay next year. How a flood of fans could actually hurt some businesses.
Last Super Bowl, it doesn't do any good for me.
As we head into this weekend's forecast, we are gearing up for some beautiful weather outside. A little bit warmer, though. I mean, take a look at this. 70s in the forecast today, jumping into the upper 70s by tomorrow for our friends along the Bay at least. So San Francisco, Oakland, you see that live look behind me? We're expecting clear skies into this afternoon. And then those clouds start to roll in into the afternoons as we head into next Monday and Tuesday. Where we don't see those clouds, it's our inland spots. We're going to warm up into the 90s today. We have upper 90s in the forecast tomorrow and Sunday. Coincidentally, just the 2 weekend days alone where we're dealing with some summer-like heat. And then we're back down into the low 90s as we head into next week, at least for Monday and Tuesday, as many kids are back to school. And of course, us adults are back to work.
Oh, excuse me. Well, preparations underway in the South Bay for some of the world's biggest sporting events. Millions of people from around the world are expected to descend on the area next year. All begins in February when Levi Stadium hosts Super Bowl 60. And then in March, the NCAA tournament comes to SAP Center. It all culminates with the most watched sporting event on the planet, the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Santa Clara becoming the first city ever to host both the Super Bowl and the FIFA World Cup in the same year. While local leaders are celebrating the busy schedule, some business owners aren't as thrilled. As Kevin Coe shows us, it all has to do with their bottom line.
Benny opened Bistro Siam 15 years ago, before Levi Stadium was built just a couple blocks away.
I was surprised to find out that it got slow for you after Levi's was built.
Yes, stadium here, we're gonna have a lot of customer, we're gonna have a lot of, event, a lot of things going, but it's not what we expect. Not at all.
Benny says game days are the worst for her Thai restaurant in the Tasman Station, one of the only restaurants operating near Levi's.
People like selling things on the side, food, even beer and wine. They came in and asked for ice to refill their bucket, and they look at them like, my God.
She says all the cars and foot traffic haven't led to real profits. It was a similar story when Santa Clara hosted Super Bowl 50 in 2016.
Last Super Bowl, it doesn't do any good for me.
The city of Santa Clara is also pondering the benefit of hosting the Super Bowl. At this week's city council meeting, officials reviewed an agreement set to be approved next month detailing costs and payments. Hosting the Super Bowl will cost $6.3 million. The proposed agreement requires the Bay Area Host Committee reimburse the city for event expenses.
I'll tell you what my concerns are with this draft is that the city is going to have to front a lot of payments in terms of millions of dollars for both Super Bowl and World Cup, and they're very close together. One of the lessons learned from Super Bowl 50 is that there were very few ways for the city to make money in these events.
I'm struggling to see how the city will benefit financially from this. It may be that these events are always basically money-losing propositions.
We could get a lot of benefit to the city if we had a entertainment district that could capture the people that came to capture the money that came to our city for the event.
Without that existing in Santa Clara, San Jose is hoping to take advantage, unveiling new branding and initiatives catered around 2026's big events.
The global party is going to be here in the Bay, and especially here in San Jose.
But back in Santa Clara, business owners like Benny assume it'll just be another slow day.
I want to give this opportunity to my customer to be able to come in and order food or sit down and eat, but that not happen.
As for San Jose, they're already making big plans there for activities surrounding the sporting events. The city is planning watch parties, drone shows, and concerts to coincide with the games. Mayor Matt Mahan told us he really wants to showcase San Jose during the events to make sure it's not overshadowed by San Francisco. The 49ers preparing to kick off their regular season in Seattle in about a week. And we've learned the Niners are going to have a new look when they host the Seahawks at the end of the season. Matt Lively explains.
This is the Audi Red and Gold Report.
The 49ers unveiled their Faithful to the Bay rivalry uniform, one of 8 teams from across the NFL to receive one.
Well, I always picture the 49ers having black, so now that I finally get to wear them, I'm definitely excited for it.
Just keep Fred Warner away from the mannequins.
What's good, Big Pimpin'?
One player who hasn't even had a second to look at the new uniform is Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who practiced for the first time on Thursday.
Between here and Pittsburgh, obviously I have a great relationship with Aaron Rodgers over there, and he wanted me back over there. So it was a toss-up.
You haven't been here long, but is Super Bowl 58 been a topic that's come up yet?
I mean, I've been here literally 4 hours, so and 2 of them were spent on the football field. So I haven't got to hear much about anything besides what we're doing today.
Fans seem torn about the new black uniforms online, and that's fitting because they haven't worn any sort of black uniform since 2017 due to low popularity.
Again, the Niners kicking off their regular season against the Seahawks in Seattle. That is on Sunday, September 7th. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, the parents of a teenager filing a lawsuit after the death of their 16-year-old son, while his family is placing the blame on ChatGPT.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us. I'm Ann Makovic. Here is another look at some of our news headlines today. Fire destroyed a former youth center in East San Jose this morning. Flames pouring out of the abandoned building on Sinclair Drive for hours. This is the abandoned Mexican-American Community Services Agency Youth Center. It broke out at around 1 a.m. right next to the Alum Rock Renaissance Academy. No injuries reported. The cause of that fire still under investigation. Police in Minneapolis have identified the 2 children who were shot and killed at church this week. 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moisky died during Mass Wednesday after that shooter fired 116 rifle rounds into Annunciation Catholic School. 18 other people were injured. Police say the shooter, 23-year-old Robin Westman, had been a member of the Catholic Church where the shooting happened. They also say that they may have visited the church in the weeks leading up to that attack to conduct surveillance. Authorities still trying to establish a motive. And President Trump has canceled Secret Service protection for former Vice President Kamala Harris. Under federal law, a former VP gets 6 months of protection after leaving office, but Harris's protection was extended to a year by former President Biden. But that is going to end September 1st under President Trump's order. Sources tell CBS News that Secret Service found no reason to extend her detail past the usual 6 months. All right, let's get another check on our first alert forecast for the long holiday weekend. Here's meteorologist Jessica Birch.
We have a big warm up in the forecast as we head into the next couple days, and we're already starting to notice it off into our inland spots today with this baby warm up jumping us into the 80s and 90s from Concord all the way over into Antioch as we kick off this weekend's forecast. It's a little bit cooler, of course, along the coast, sitting in the 60s today in Pacifica and Half Moon Bay, upper 60s into San Francisco this afternoon, but we're continuing to warm up all throughout these microclimates as we head into this weekend's forecast. And there's a reason for it. As we head into this weekend, high pressure starts rolling its way in from our inland spots. What that does is it drops relative humidity a little bit. It also warms our temperatures up. And so those inland areas are going to see a lot more upper 80s and lower 90s, and even some upper 90s in the forecast off into the East Bay as early as tomorrow. At the same time, we're gearing up for some gustier afternoons. We see that alone today. I mean, we kicked off this morning with nice light winds, a little bit gustier just around lunchtime. Into the evening hours tonight, it really ramps up to around 25-mile-per-hour winds. And the reason why I want to bring up the winds mixed with the low relative humidity and warm temperatures is because those three key ingredients alone are fire weather conditions. And so we monitor that closely as we head into the afternoon hours tomorrow all the way into Sunday as temperatures soar up into the upper 90s throughout our inland areas. And then we slowly start to see a little bit of a cool down as we head into early next week, as we head into Monday and Tuesday. Sending back the kids to school on Monday, well, of course, you're still going to want to have that water bottle ready to go and some lighter attire for our inland areas. But if you live along the bay, temperatures are a little bit more moderate. We're talking about low 70s as we head into Monday's forecast, getting a baby warm up as we head into mid next week. The only difference, we have more cloudy skies in the forecast right around the corner. Back to you.
Well, the families of the two children killed in the Minneapolis school shooting have shared statements to remember their lost loved ones. They died after a shooter fired repeatedly into a church where children and adults were celebrating morning mass on Wednesday. 18 other people were wounded. Ashar Karashi is in Minneapolis with the latest on the investigation.
Police say the shooter couldn't see the hundreds of students and staff inside Annunciation Catholic School as bullets shattered the stained glass church windows Wednesday.
The shooter wanted to kill children, defenseless children.
Approximately 116 rifle rounds, 3 shotgun shells, and a live handgun round that police believe jammed in the chamber were found at the scene, along with 3 legally purchased weapons.
There's anger, there's questioning.
Principal Matthew DeBoer spoke to CBS Evening News co-anchor Maurice Dubois about meeting with the victims' families.
What'd you tell them? I told them that I was there, and I held their kids' hands. And I told them that their parents loved them, that I loved them, and I gave them a kiss. And it was hard. But they deserved to know that someone was with their kids.
Those stolen lives belong to 10-year-old Harper Moisky and 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel.
We will never be allowed to hold him, talk to him, play with him, and watch him grow into the wonderful young man he was on the path to becoming.
Jesse Merkel honored his son Thursday.
Please remember Fletcher for the person he was and not the act that ended his life. Give your kids an extra hug and kiss today. We love you, Fletcher. You'll always be with us.
A senior Minneapolis official briefed on the investigation says investigators are now focused on the shooter's family, spending hours questioning the shooter's mother about possible warning signs. All family members are being interviewed, and those conversations are ongoing.
Harper's family released a statement as well, calling the 10-year-old bright, joyful, and deeply loved, and said that her laughter, kindness, and spirit touched everyone who knew her. 20 years ago today, Hurricane Katrina made landfall in Louisiana and Mississippi, breaching levees in New Orleans. Katrina is the costliest hurricane in U.S. history and one of the deadliest. It, of course, created catastrophic flooding and an historic humanitarian crisis. At least 80% of New Orleans was flooded, with roads impassable without boats and people stranded on rooftops. About 1,400 people died, and today people who live there still remember Katrina vividly.
I was like this, and so I did that. So 1 wave, 2 waves. I turned my head to look back over there, and then I come back, and the wave's in the window.
The following years have been spent building a better flood protection system. That includes the world's largest pump station, which blocks storm surge from the Gulf and pumps rainwater away from the city. Since 2012, New Orleans has remained mostly dry, even during 2021's Hurricane Ida. A family in Orange County filing a lawsuit against OpenAI, asserting that ChatGPT coached their son to take his own life. Now we're learning more about the teen's interactions with that bot in the months leading up to his death. Jasmine Veal spoke with one of the family's attorneys about their accusations.
This is 16-year-old Adam Rain. He was into basketball, comics, and music, but in April, he took his own life.
I think that ChatGPT facilitated, accelerated his death.
That's why his parents, Matt and Maria, are now suing OpenAI after they started digging for answers. Mattelli Jane is co-counsel on this case and says the Rains found 3,000 pages of grim conversations Adam had with ChatGPT leading up to his suicide, and they believe it pushed him to do it.
Their son Adam would be here today. This is their firm belief.
The lawsuit filed Tuesday in San Francisco Superior Court states that in September of 2024, Adam started using ChatGPT to help with schoolwork, but within months, he was opening up about his anxiety and stress.
That it slowly started to shift over time, became his confidant, started to displace his relationships with humans in his real life.
They claim ChatGPT became his suicide coach, even offering to write his suicide note.
Did it ever give him contact helpline, help crisis lines? Did it ever at any point tell him to reach out to his parents to talk to someone?
It did at various points give him kind of perfunctory or superficial responses, prompts saying, you know, you should consider calling a helpline or talk to somebody.
But Jane says ChatGPT gave him tips on how to get around these prompts for help and encouraged him not to tell anyone about his suicidal thoughts.
He told ChatGPT, you know, maybe I should leave the news out so that somebody sees it. And ChatGPT's response was, you know, I'd avoid doing that if I were you.
The lawsuit accuses OpenAI CEO Samuel Altman of knowingly accelerating the public launch of ChatGPT while deliberately bypassing critical safety protocols. A statement from an OpenAI spokesperson says in part, ChatGPT includes safeguards such as directing people to crisis helplines and referring them to real-world resources. While these safeguards work best in common, short exchanges, we've learned over time that they can sometimes become less reliable in long interactions where parts of the model's safety training may degrade. It goes on to say we will continually improve on them, guided by experts. But the family's legal team says until it's proven safe, it shouldn't be used.
Then they shouldn't put these products onto market.
In a statement to CBS News, OpenAI says it's making changes to ChatGPT that include protections for vulnerable people and minors. They soon plan to add parental controls that will give more insight on how their kids are using the chatbot. If you or someone you know needs help, you can reach the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline by calling or texting 988. Coming up next here on CBS News Bay Area. August is Black Business Month. How a vegan chef from Oakland is putting her own spin on a classic Louisiana flavor.
We're starting to warm up as we head into this weekend's forecast. Today we're still in the low 90s, putting us a little bit above average in certain microclimates off into the East Bay. We jump to the upper 90s by tomorrow, and then we hold on tight to upper 90s for one more day into Sunday's forecast before things calm down a little bit more as we kick off next work week and school week. Now at the same time, we're also noticing that weekend warm up in the Bay too. Low 70s jumping into upper 70s as early as tomorrow with sunny skies. It'll be a beautiful weekend in the Bay, and then we'll start seeing those clouds roll back in as we head into next week.
August is Black Business Month, a time to celebrate the resilience, creativity, and contributions of Black entrepreneurs. To celebrate, the Oakland African American Chamber of Commerce recognized local entrepreneurs and community leaders at the Henry J. Kaiser Center for the Arts. The event yesterday served as a tribute to Black businesses in Oakland and encouraged support toward its economic growth. It also featured live performances from local Black artists and remarks from Mayor Barbara Lee. Well, today we want to introduce you to an Oakland native who built a nationally recognized vegan restaurant from the ground up without investors nor restaurant experience. Our journey started with just $27 and a dream. Our executive producer of Impacting Communities, Tylen Jennings, shows us how she is redefining soul food.
At Oakland's Jack London Square, bold Louisiana flavors meet plant-based passion. This is solely vegan, and behind it, Tamara Dyson, a trailblazer who's redefining soul food on her own terms.
I dreamt of opening a vegan restaurant. I turned vegan myself when I was 17, and I just dreamt of introducing something to the world that I felt it had not yet seen.
Dyson opened Solely Vegan in 2009, before vegan soul food was so popular. And with zero investors and no culinary background, she walked away from a promising medical career to follow an unshakable vision.
I bootstrapped absolutely everything. And so even my first location at 301 Broadway, and now we're at 101 Broadway, I bootstrapped that. I opened that location with $27 in the cash register. As a result, I lost absolutely everything.
We're talking about evicted in my apartment. They're talking about my car repossessed, because when it came down to paying the rent for my location or paying my car note, I chose to pay the rent.
That determination led to 14 years of success, earning national attention and even a win against Iron Chef Bobby Flay. Today in a new space, Dyson's restaurant is more than just a place to eat. It's a community. She's building a team and creating opportunities for people like Jordan, her sous chef, who didn't have much experience in the culinary field.
He came in trailblazing, and he's, right by my side. He's working or he's learning.
Famous burger is called the Pray For Me, coming with coleslaw. We got the new cheese on there, so it's, melted cheese on there. And then I did the chicken salads right now, all vegan. And I'm about to play this with the good old fries that we got.
Honoring Dyson's roots through every dish.
And our flavor profile is specific to New Orleans. It's not Mississippi, it's not, it's New Orleans specific. Homage to my grandmother.
With every dish made from scratch to a welcoming vibe that keeps staff and customers coming back. Dyson says it's the energy that sets Solely Vegan apart.
The vibration here, people, they love working here. They, these people that, has left their other jobs to come work for your, work for us full time. And that's really the way it's always been with us, is the environment that we set.
The grand opening for the new location is planned for September.
Solely Vegan is right now in soft launch, open Fridays through Sundays on Broadway in Jack London Square. Coming up here on CBS News Bay Area, honeybees are disappearing, threatening our local food supply. How scientists are trying to bring these pollinators back with a Nobel Prize-winning tool invented right here in the Bay Area.
As we head into this weekend's forecast, we are gearing up for some beautiful weather outside. A little bit warmer, though. I mean, take a look at this. 70s in the forecast today, jumping into the upper 70s by tomorrow for our friends along the Bay at least. So San Francisco, Oakland, you see that live look behind me? We're expecting clear skies into this afternoon. And then those clouds start to roll in into the afternoons as we head into next Monday and Tuesday. Where we don't see those clouds, it's our inland spots. We're going to warm up into the 90s today. We have upper 90s in the forecast tomorrow and Sunday. Coincidentally, just the 2 weekend days alone where we're dealing with some summer-like heat. And then we're back down into the low 90s as we head into next week, at least for Monday and Tuesday, as many kids are back to school. And of course, us adults are back to work.
On today's Project Earth, we are taking a look at honeybees. They're crucial to our food supply, but they're declining in population. Now, a Nobel Prize-winning technology identified here in the Bay Area promises to keep the hives buzzing and the honey flowing. For honeybees, the San Francisco Bay Area traditionally serves up a year-long feast.
There's usually something blooming.
Alameda beekeeper Andrei Kruglikov. His business, Twin Bee Apiaries, is buzzing. He sells about 1,000 pounds of raw honey a year, all made by the bees in his backyard.
People apparently have a lot of interest in local honey.
But when the conversation jumps to climate change, the honey farmer grows concerned.
It's not just warming, it's a climate disruption, right? So you have a cold and wet spring, and then basically the bees, they build up their population, and there's not enough nectar.
The warming planet, changing climate, and loss of habitat all pose a threat to bees by depriving them of the floral diversity they need to survive. Add to that mites and viral diseases, and the bees are in trouble, which threatens our food supply. Honeybees pollinate 70% of the world's leading crops, including fruit, vegetables, and nuts.
Honeybees are really crucial in today's world for our diets.
Dr. Alina Lastro-Nino of UC Davis is an expert in honeybees and beekeeping. She says this past year was particularly bad for bees.
Beekeepers have reported losing approximately 60% of their colonies, which is really huge.
Now, some hope. European researchers have just invented a superfood to protect honeybees from the growing threat.
The work that we did here represents a major technological breakthrough for the beekeeping industry and for food security and global pollination.
The scientists first identified 6 key components in pollen that benefit bees. Then they genetically engineered a strain of yeast to produce a precise mixture in a sustainable and affordable way. The colonies, given the food, thrived and boosted reproduction.
So that's really exciting.
To engineer the yeast, the researchers used a Nobel Prize-winning tool called CRISPR-Cas9, first identified by UC Berkeley scientists.
Bay Area technology, it's even cooler to have that be a part of developing this diet.
As for Andre, news of the breakthrough was sweet.
If you come up with some means of improving their longevity and improving the likelihood of the hive succeeding, surviving and continuing, I think it's wonderful.
And that is the best kind of buzz. Dr. Nino says you don't have to be a beekeeper or a scientist to help the honeybees, or in fact, any pollinator. Her number one tip, go to your local nursery and seek out specific plants. You can hear her details exclusively on our website, kpix.com. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.